welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to a live Manchester United news show as we knock Arsenal out of the FA Cup on penalties. Is their season over? Because I don't see them winning the Premier League or Champions League, at least not with the current crop of attackers they have, because if Martinelli is their best fit attacker, then that is pretty poor, and it was a deserved win over Arsenal. The players worked hard, and Ruben Amorim's influence on the United players is clear. The mentality and the work rate we've seen in the last few games under United, could it be rubbing off? We've obviously got to see this way more consistently, but Manchester United stars feel humiliated by Amorim. Casemiro and Eriksen left on the bench as Toby Collier comes on when we're down to 10 men in a big match like Arsenal. What a statement from Ruben Amorim. We've got updates on United's big plans to move on Eriksen, Rashford, Casemiro. Ruben Amorim is the first Man United manager to really, the Casemiros, the Eriksens, the Rashford, to really look to move on these big stars, but it's not caused any unrest within the dressing room. When Erik ten Hag had some issues with Varane and Casemiro, it had unrest in the dressing room. Same with the David De Gea situation, but Ruben Amorim, he is more than willing to move on these stars, bench these stars, get them out, tell them to go, clash with these stars. But his influence on the dressing room and on the squad is clear. And we're going to talk about that. And actually, the mental side of Ruben Amorim, the players seem to be buying into it. He's talking a lot about the mental side of the game. We know after Anfield, Martinez said the difference was in the head. We're going to talk about all of that. There's actually news coming out as we speak this second on Anthony to Olympiacos as well. Nothing like big. It's just coming out from Sky that there's something. It's begun, like the talks, the chat. We've also got updates on Rashford's exit, Bruno Fernandes, Maguire, De Ligt, Xerxes. I want to talk about all of their performances yesterday. I do want to talk about yesterday's game. Garnacho, Napoli to make a big bid. Malacia exit. Diego Leon is actually here for his medical people. So much to get into. So much to talk about. So I'm going to dive into all the news. I'm going to dive into all the stories as well. One sec. What's that say? Sorry, someone just sent something. I just thought it was let's just check if it was some news as well. But I have to say, I thought Xerxes had a good cameo. I thought Euro had a brilliant cameo, brilliant penalty. Euro's been coming on in 3-4 big games now. Manchester derby, both the Arsenal games, the Anfield game, putting in top performances. I hope we see him start more, maybe versus Southampton as well. So really good performances from United. Very, very happy as well. Can the players understand that the manager will pick the team based on merit rather than reputation? And that is what we're getting under Ruben Amorim. It's based on merit. There was a lot of rotation when Ruben Amorim came in. There's a lot less rotation now because he's starting to figure out who is better and all of that. And, I think there's positions, I think we know just nailed on from Newcastle on Anfield that Maino and Ugarte is the pivot. Bruno is going to be in the 10, but occasionally he'll play in the pivot if we need to rest one of Maino or Ugarte, particularly Maino because he can partner Ugarte better. Ahmed is going to be the 10. Bruno will be the other 10. And to be honest, Xerxes could give Højlund a bit of competition. I say this now, if we're playing in a game where we're creating loads of chances, I would rather Højlund play than Xerxes because Højlund is better at converting chances. But if we're playing in a game where we're living off scraps, I still think Xerxes makes more out of scraps than Rasmus Højlund. And he definitely did that versus Arsenal, the holding the ball, the turning. The way he nutmegged Saliba, I have to say, Xerxes had a very, very good game. Not 10 out of 10 game, but he scored the penalty, held the ball well. He was living off scraps. He nutmegged Saliba, he held up the ball well. For his role and what the manager wanted him to do, he definitely had a good game. In my opinion. I'm just going to grab my water. Bear with me 5 seconds. Because my water is over here and I have a very dry mouth this morning. But I'm happy to talk about Man United. For me, the drawing at Anfield and then winning on penalties at Emirates feels like 2 big victories. Now, if we go to Southampton and we don't beat Southampton, we put in a crap performance, I'm going to go back to misery because I'm going to be thinking, guys, this is Southampton. And then I'm going to be thinking relegation fears again. But I'm not worried about relegation or anything like that right now. We obviously need to show a bit versus Southampton and more. But lots of positive sides. We're going to talk about Maguire, Leach, and De Ligt. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Not sure if Collier has the quality, but those legs and energy could help Ugarte at times. I think in Amorim's system, it's just Collier will be... I thought he was quite good on the ball, actually. Retained it quite well, and I think he can grow and develop. But I think in Amorim's system, Collier, just the legs and the running. And what I liked about Collier was every time we had an attack, did you see Collier was there in the box? Collier was with the defence. He was defending with the defence. He was everywhere. He was plugging the gaps between the defence. But as soon as we had an opportunity to break both occasions, Collier is there in the box. Maybe Amma should have given it to Collier instead of Xerxes on that break. He was there in the box. So I thought that, his influence off the ball, the running, the movement, it was needed. Because I think when you're with 10 men, you've got to work harder. And I think Amorim got that sub spot on, which is exactly what we're going to start talking about before we get into the news and transfers. So first of all, as I want to talk about what Paddy said here. He said, you don't bring Casemiro on in games like this because he'll lose the ball more often than not. Collier has legs, an engine, and is tidy. Simple profiles over reputation. Good sub. So the thing that Amorim got spot on today was he went for the profile over the reputation. Because if you're down, you've got to think about this. If you're down to 10 men, you're going to have to work harder off the ball. What does Collier do? He works ridiculously hard off the ball. He's got some of the best running power out there. So the Collier sub in itself, it just makes loads and loads of sense, because what he did was he absolutely ran his socks off. When he got the ball, he kept it well. He won his headers and he covered the ground. So meaning that actually we frustrated Arsenal, because even though we had 10 men, yeah, what were Arsenal trying to do? Win set pieces. Did you notice this? And I've said this many times. Arsenal, every time we touched them, they fell over. The amount of dive, and the ref fell for it. The amount of half contact Arsenal players went down on, and the ref gave them a free kick for. The amount of dives they got free kicks for, they would go down, because all Arsenal were doing was one in set pieces, because they could not break us down. Despite us having one less player, they could not break us down in open play. And Collier was plugging the gaps and doing a really good job. And Arsenal played over 60 minutes against 10 men, and they could not break us down. And I thought it was a fantastic sub. But this is obviously, some people will see it as bit disrespect to Casemiro, disrespect to Eriksen, but we won the game. Casemiro was fuming. Do you remember the FA Cup game that Amrabat started over Casemiro? Casemiro was fuming when he found out it wasn't starting the FA Cup game. He had a strop, and that's why he was completely dropped from the squad. Because Amrabat and Kobe started against City in the FA Cup, not Casemiro. Casemiro was fuming. He felt humiliated that he wasn't starting in a cup final for Manchester United. Casemiro then got took off by Ten Hag versus Liverpool when we went 2-0 down. He felt humiliated. Casemiro, again, not happy, because he's Casemiro. He's won 3 Champions Leagues, and this little Collier kid is coming on. And people can say we're humiliating Casemiro, we're humiliating Eriksen, we're humiliating the big names, and people could say, oh, we need to treat them better, this and that. But I think that was the spot-on decision. I think that was the right decision, because we won the FA Cup final, we won yesterday. I don't think it's about disrespecting big names. I don't think that at all. I think it is, you've got to go for profiles over big names, and that is what Ruben Amorim's doing. He's picking the profile that suits the match, and Casemiro doesn't. Ruben Amorim is saying to Casemiro and Eriksen and Marcus Rashford, look how little you've been used over the last 7 games. Rashford hasn't been used at all, but Casemiro and Eriksen, over the last 7 games, only played in the game they had to. He's saying, look how little you've been used. Collier is now coming on over you. And that is a big sign of Amorim saying, I do not want you. I do not need you in my plans. And you know what? He's got the dressing room behind it, because that's a big thing. Getting rid of Rashford, getting rid of Casemiro, Xing out Eriksen, who was Did you know on Ruben Amorim's second game, Eriksen wasn't even in the squad, and he only found out over text, and he was completely fit. This is the ruthlessness and the brutalness that we've been asking every Man United manager to do. Every Man United manager that's come in this job since Sir Alex Ferguson, we've been asking for that ruthlessness and brutalness with the big players. And Ruben Amorim is doing that. He's dropping players on merit. Collier performed better than Casemiro did last year. I mean, Casemiro had a couple good games in the last 18 months, but Collier, Casemiro's been dropped because he's not been good enough. But Ruben Amorim is playing players based on merit. He is making it clear to the big names. He's barely playing them. And I like that. I like that completely from Casemiro, because I like that from Ruben Amorim, sorry. I like that from Ruben Amorim, because he's the first manager that I feel like he's really getting control of the dressing room. And there was a point when Ten Hag first came in that we felt he had control of the dressing room, and he would drop Maguire after the 4-0 Brentford, he dropped Ronaldo, but he didn't really ever have control of the big stars, Erik Ten Hag. But I feel that Ruben Amorim has got the dressing room on side, has got the players on side, and the big stars just have to accept that they're not going to play under him without making a fuss. And he brings me that ruthlessness. He's got that ruthlessness, and I thought he got it right. And with Casemiro, he is looking for exits. In the summer, Casemiro had options with Saudi, but he was happy to stay at United because he knew that Ten Hag was still going to play him. He knows he's not playing at all under Ruben Amorim. So Casemiro is out there looking for exits. It was said by Laurie Whitwell, one of the best journalists in the United States, that there was credible talk about Casemiro leaving Manchester United. A move to Saudi Arabia this month is still on. There was some reports coming out that Casemiro had agreed a contract with Saudi Arabia and the move was essentially done. That obviously looks to be BS news. But Casemiro is out there looking for exits. Because Collier's come on over him again. He's still not playing. His last game was against Newcastle. Humiliating game. Ruben Amorim taking no nonsense, as Steve has here. He's the first manager that's come in and thought big names within 2 months of being at the club. 3 big names, 3 big wage players not involved. Even players like Garnacho, that was his first start in 8 games. He has to work his way in. And he had a good assist for Garnacho. You know, he's playing players based off merit. He's not having that favouritism. And I think we've needed that for a while. In Amorim's system, those tenacious mobile centre mids especially, they need to cover space. There's 2 centre mids instead of 3. They need to cover space. They need to cover ground. And that's what we needed. Absolutely. Collier was thrown into real cauldron and was so cool and calm under pressure, passed a big test of character, a great performance from Manchester United it was. Big names mean nothing if you don't perform. Arteta did it with Aubameyang. You know, Arteta did it with Aubameyang and Lacazette, and he got a lot of stick, but it moved Arsenal forward in a weird way as well. When Ruben said we need leaders, he meant the old ones do not quite cut it. We need a new start, and he was spot on. Look how the United squad is now, 100%. Bruno Fernandes put 2 leadership performances in a row. Other than losing his call and throwing the shoe, which I don't blame him for, you know, he put in 2 leadership performances in a row. Lisandro Martinez has been putting in leadership performances. He has. Dad said the ref was from Huddersfield, maybe a Leeds fan. The ref was atrocious. The ref was the worst thing about that game. The ref was absolutely atrocious yesterday. I don't even have the words to describe how bad that refereeing performance was. I really don't. It was just awful. I'm sorry. I'm going to talk about the refereeing performance quickly because I do want to get into the Garnacho news. I do want to get to the Eriksen news. I do want to get into the Rashford news. I do want to get into more. But let's just talk about this refereeing performance. Okay. First of all, Lisandro Martinez's yellow card was soft. But even before that, first 20-25 minutes of the game, how many times did we barely touch Arsenal and they got a free kick in our half? How many times were Arsenal going down at the slightest touch and the referee was giving it? Okay? Then Martinez gets a soft yellow card. Then every fucking decision is going Arsenal's way. Then Bruno Fernandes is clearly fouled. Gabriel Jesus was stretchered off when he fouled Bruno, but the ref said there was no contact. Well, how could Gabriel Jesus is having to be stretchered off if he made no contact with Bruno Fernandes? How is he having to be stretchered off? So apparently there was no contact on Bruno when there was clear contact in a massive free kick position. Bruno Fernandes has now been the most booked player in English football since 2020. And you can say what you like about Bruno Fernandes, but he is targeted by referees. Bruno, people who aren't Man United fans don't like Bruno because he whinges and complains, because he's a proper leader. So he is targeted by referees. The minute he falls over, they want to target him for a dive. The minute he makes a foul, they want to give him a yellow card. It was a bit like Casemiro. Certain players are targeted. Bruno is targeted by referees. He gets unfair treatment from referees, and you cannot deny that. Okay? Bruno goes down. No foul given. It's the most blatant foul. No foul given. So yeah, Bruno loses his call. His shoe is off, and he throws his shoe. And he loses his call. He shouldn't do this. But Gabriel throws a shoe. So why doesn't Gabriel get a yellow for throwing a shoe, but Bruno does? Well, anyway, Kai Havertz made two or three yellow card fouls, but only got the one. Kai Havertz put his arms around Agate's neck, strangling him. Nothing. You know, Kai Havertz dived. Shouldn't he have been booked for diving? On top of the 3 or 4 yellow cards he could have got for fouls. He didn't. Maybe Kai Havertz staying on the pitch did us a favour, to be honest. So, but I'm just trying to say, Deleu's silly. Yes, Deleu, red card, fair enough, silly. But there was a lot of tackles from Arsenal players where they didn't get yellows, but if Man United made the exact same tackle, it was a yellow card for us. And the penalty was the worst decision of them all, because there's no way that was a penalty. That was the most blatant dive ever. Most blatant, awful dive ever. And you know what? Havertz got karma. Havertz dived to win a penalty. Odegaard couldn't score the penalty. Then later on, Havertz missed his penalty. And as I said on Twitter, absolute justice. Absolute justice, that was, in my opinion, because it was never a penalty. And regardless of the outcome, I was going to be happy with those United players. The fact that we took it to extra time. But the refereeing performance, rubbish. Arsenal, always going on and on. Oh, we're robbed by the referees. We get no luck with the referees. It's so hard. You can't win games with 10 men this season. Arsenal complaining, Brighton game, City game, they didn't win because they had 10 men and they've been robbed by the referees and it's hard. Like, we just put them in their place. We put them in their place yesterday because this is what I said. Havertz dives and ref gives silly penalty. Odegaard misses the penalty. Havertz misses his penalty in extra time. Justice. Karma, justice. Deserved win, deserved penalty win. Never a penalty. It was never a penalty. Do you know what? That game was an advert for VAR. That game was we complain a lot about VAR and the inconsistency, but that game was an advert for VAR. It really was. It really was an advert for VAR because I tell you what, we missed VAR in that game. Also, the ref just thought he was the main character. Throughout the game, every time there was a corner, he was blowing the whistle for 2 minutes. The game had no momentum. The refs blew his whistle about 99 times. It was an old school game. There was beefing. There was fighting in the box. I liked that. But bloody hell, the ref was just blowing and blowing and blowing. He would not stop blowing. Honestly, it's doing my head in. But yeah, we're going to talk about players. We're going to talk more positive. I could sit here and I could rant about the ref, but he's shit and there's nothing we can do about it. And he's probably a Leeds fan because he was out to get us. But I want to talk more about news. I want to talk more about United. I've barely got into any of the news. I've barely got into any of the stories. But look, Casemiro to Saudi is still on. Casemiro and Eriksen no longer starting games or getting any significant minutes. Amorim prefers Collier to provide control in the defensive midfield role in a big game like Arsenal. Amorim values intensity and energy, making it clear that Casemiro and Eriksen can leave, and Eriksen and Casemiro are fully available to leave Manchester United. I think it's a bit humiliating for Casemiro and Eriksen to be the level that they have been, to then see Collier come over them and they are sat on the bench when we've got 10 men. But Amorim has made that clear. Marcus Rashford ain't even in the squad. Garnacho got his first start in about 7-8 games. Casemiro, Eriksen, you weren't even used. The performance you put in versus Newcastle was so bad that you've not even been used. Collier's come on. And as it was said, Marcus Rashford, Eriksen and Casemiro are all open to leaving Manchester United in January and their representatives are exploring exit options. Ruben Amorim is granted permission for this. Ruben Amorim is letting the players go. The players are looking to leave. Casemiro, Eriksen, Rashford, they're out there. They're looking to leave Manchester United. Whether we get them out or not, I don't know. The wage bill would be massively freed up by these 3 outs. I think Eriksen will just go in the summer because he's going to get more choice. But Rashford has a lot of choice. Casemiro, whatever happens with Saudi, there's stuff going on there. There's stuff going on, there's movement, and those players are now looking to leave. Player power's gone. Ruben Amorim's coming, Eriksen, Casemiro and Rashford are looking to leave. Within 2 months of Ruben Amorim coming in, 3 of our biggest earners are looking to leave the club. 3 of them. Just out, looking to leave the club, and it's not caused any dressing room unrest because the players are behind Amorim, they're backing Amorim, they're giving Amorim everything. It's not causing any dressing room unrest or anything like that. Havertz is a cheat, but I'm glad he stayed on because he missed his penalty. I have to say, Euro, what a penalty. Xerxes, great penalty. Bruno, great penalty. Martinez, great penalty. Great penalties from all the players. I was so worried Xerxes was going to miss it, just because of how he's been targeted lately. So I'm really happy he scored his as well. Want to see more of Collier? I think we'll see him definitely come on off the bench for Maino. I think if we're winning a game and we've got a result, we've got a lead to protect, I think Collier will come on for Maino just for the legs. I think for like 10, 20 minutes of games as well. We've got Leicester in the next round of the FA Cup, so maybe Collier starts that game as well. But yeah, someone said Rest bank account must be checked. PGML is the refereeing was shocking. It was also said, but this was said by Give Me Sports. So do take this with a huge pinch of salt because I don't think Give Me Sports particularly reliable. But apparently Amorim is said to have studied Manchester United stats before taking the job and found numerous references to Marcus Rashford's lack of work rate, poor pressing, and lack of focus. So Ruben Amorim made up his mind on Marcus Rashford very quickly. Within 60 minutes of him playing striker, Ruben Amorim said he's not a striker. Ruben Amorim has dropped him since Victoria Pleasant game, and we know that intensity is a big thing for Ruben Amorim, and he's obviously not been impressed by that with Marcus Rashford. He's up for sale. So again, Give Me Sport with a pinch of salt. But one thing I think is interesting with Ruben Amorim is when they talk about lack of focus, Rashford goes on one night out and he's completely dropped and disciplined. Because one of Man United's biggest problems with Marcus Rashford in recent years is he likes to go on a night out and he'll be tired and maybe he doesn't perform in training the next day. And Ruben Amorim's known that this has been an issue under Ten Hag and sees that new manager, he's doing the same thing and is completely disciplined Rashford for that. So Ruben Amorim has apparently done studying on United players and what they were doing before he came in to make sure they're not doing that again. So Rashford, he's already decided can go. Casemiro, he's decided can go. Eriksen, he's decided can go. And all three of those players are looking for routes out of Manchester United. The influence of Ruben Amorim is clear. It is clear. He does not have sympathy for big stars. It is you perform, you give 100%, you show the work rate. I'm picking players based on profile and merit, not name as well. Credit to Xerxes for stepping up, says Steve Charles. I completely agree. I thought Xerxes had a very, very good game as well. Collier could get more minutes now. Showed he could take the pressure, potentially. Arsenal cheating as well. As a Liverpool fan, that's the best I've seen United tracking back and working. Don't know why you don't do it. Every game is professional players. And that's why Ruben Amorim is fuming at the players, David. Ruben Amorim is fuming at the Man United players because he saw those Man United players giving 110% versus Liverpool and 110% versus Arsenal. And he's asking them, well, why didn't you do that in the game versus Bournemouth? Why didn't you do that in the game versus Nottingham Forest? Why didn't you do that, in other games? That is what Ruben Amorim is asking of those Man United players. Why didn't you do that in the Newcastle game? Why is it waited for Liverpool and Arsenal? Why have you waited 2 months for me to be in the door to show me that you can give a toss and you can give 100%? And I'll tell you this for a fact. Do you know what I absolutely loved about that game yesterday? The fact that Arsenal, I think we had a corner or something, and there was 3 minutes left of the game, and Arsenal had a counter-attack, and every single Manchester United player, there was 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, sprint back. They must have been exhausted. They've been playing for 2 hours. But every single Man United player on that pitch sprint all the way back. It was one of the last kicks of the game. Arsenal had an attack. Every single player sprinted, got back. Not one was jogging. Not one was... Every player did what they could. And every time Arsenal had an attack, we've got 11 men behind the ball. And Arsenal will say, oh, they're parking the bus. We're at the Emirates with 10 men with 16 minutes to play. Of course we're going to park the bus. Especially when we're 14th and you're second. What do you expect? You parked the bus versus Man City and you were praising Arteta for being a genius. What are you on about, Arsenal fans? What are you on about? Every single Man United player ran back. They looked to get behind the ball. They looked to make a difference. And I absolutely loved that. The work rate, the everything that those United players gave. 100%. Skilano says that's what fans have been asking for years. Why aren't the players putting in the effort? Whatever Amorim is doing, get these players performing. It's near miracle. Let's just hope it can continue. It's only been 2 games as well. Amorim believes in Xerxes. I don't want Xerxes to leave until the summer. I want to give Xerxes time between now and the summer because I know Xerxes gets more stick because he's not as good as a goal scorer as Højlund, but I don't think Xerxes done anything worse than Højlund this season. I really don't. I think he just is more targeted because people don't understand that he's not a traditional number 9. They don't get it. It's a shame Collier didn't get more time earlier. He has been injured, by the way, for about 2 months. I think some of those poor defeats under Amorim could have been avoided with the engine. I think maybe a Newcastle game could have suited Collier. If Sekou Kone was fit, he's one that could be coming through in midfield as well. 100%. Does seem being able to train properly in the last 2 weeks. He's actually been able to train with the squad, and you could see between the Newcastle game and these last 2 games, the just difference in structure. Since Newcastle, we've only had 1 game a week for the last 2 weeks. So he's actually been able to train with the squad. So you can see a little bit of a difference in structure and everything at Manchester United, which is good to see. Anyway, let's get back into some more news. Let's get back into some more stories because I've been going on for 23 minutes and I haven't got into all of the news. But Laurie Whitwell said on Talk of the Devils via the United Red Report on X, saying that there is credible talk about Casemiro departing the club and that Sir Jim highlighted Casemiro's signing as one viewed as wrong due to age and expense. We've said this loads of times on the channel. Ineos came in and the first thing they criticised John Murtagh for was signing Casemiro. Ineos want Casemiro gone since day dot. In summer, Collier was the one who had the best chance of breaking through. I think we guessed that. Obviously, he played in that Liverpool game. Ten Hag played him a couple of games. It was said that contact is expected between AC Milan and Manchester United for Marcus Rashford in the next few hours, claimed the Marcio. There should be some updates on Rashford to Barcelona or AC Milan, although Barcelona just spanked Real Madrid. Absolutely destroyed Real Madrid. Their attack was unbelievable. I'd love to see Marcus Rashford in that Barcelona side. The attack, the football that Hansi Flick plays. I think it would be brilliant to see, but I think AC Milan will be the more likely because I don't know how Barcelona afford it as well. There is talk of a Inacio to United, but there hasn't been any advancements. But apparently United made an offer to get the player on loan. Kobbie Mainoo's contract extension talks are set to advance as well. That is news coming in. And Olympiacos have open talks with Antony, but apparently Antony does not want to move to Greece as well. It's also other news coming in. Alice, I know it's history, but please investigate the ref. It was shocking. Definitely a Leeds fan. That referee. I want to give a shout out to Bruno Fernandes. 3 big games away from home lately, and he stepped up in all of them, pulling captain's performances. Really, really good. Ever since Ten Hag's left, we've got our Bruno back. He's had 1 or 2 iffy games, but ever since Ten Hag's left, I felt that we've got our Bruno back, whether it's in the pivot, whether it's in the 10. He was there today, and that goal was really well taken. That's not an easy finish. He's got his shooting boots back. And as H said here, 15 goals and assists in his last 18 games for club and country. His performances have been gorgeous past couple of weeks. Hardest working player and has stepped up as skipper big time recently. I've been really, really happy with Bruno Fernandes lately. Under Ruben Amorim, he was really good under Ten Hag. I think, not Ten Hag, he was really good under Ollie, but I feel like Ten Hag never got the best out of Bruno, and that was one of the most frustrating things about Ten Hag. Now, another player that was his very best yesterday, and my man of the match, Harry Maguire. According to Andy Mitton, Harry Maguire was ill and spent the last 2 days in bed before the game against Arsenal, but he really wanted to play. And what performance that was from Maguire, because Arsenal were playing for set pieces. Arsenal were doing what they could for set pieces. Maguire's head was on everything. It was on everything. I agree with this. Mustn't take foot off pedestal just because Southampton's next. This is all good, but if we go to Southampton and we put in a crap performance, then what we did at Anfield and what we did at Emirates is irrelevant. Because Southampton, we've got to be beating them 3-0. But Maguire was unbelievable. I think taking the captain's armband off Maguire, taking that pressure of him being a week in, week out starter, and making him fight for his place for a bit, is done him a world of good, because he's been really good under Ruben Amorim. But today was an £80 million performance from Harry Maguire, because when you're down to 10 men, you're constantly under the press as defender. You're constantly under the press. That was an £80 million performance from Harry Maguire. Absolutely was. Fantastic. Bruno, very good finish, very difficult one to finish. De Ligt, unbelievable clearance. But I thought Maguire at point of that game was man of the match because of what he was doing with his head. Him or De Ligt, both unbelievable. De Ligt didn't have a great game at Anfield, and he went and put in that performance versus Arsenal everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I think every Man United player put in a shift. 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 performance. The only one that let us down was Dalot, who will be suspended for the game against Southampton on Thursday due to his red card against Arsenal, which I think Dalot needs the rest. It's Southampton and Dalot needs the rest. So do you know what? It ain't necessarily a bad thing. If you could pick him to miss a game, it would be Southampton in the league. And if any player needs the rest, it is probably Dalot. And he's been a bit iffy, but I have to say he was really good in that Anfield game. Obviously, he was the only player that let us down today because we were 1-0 up. And when he got that red card, the game changed. But you know what? What the red card opened our eyes up to was the togetherness of United. When Man United have gone down to 10 men under Erik ten Hag, we've crumbled. Manchester United away from home against big 6 sides under Erik ten Hag, we crumbled. Manchester United, when they went down to 10 men under Erik ten Hag, we crumbled. Manchester United go down to 10 men, away from home against a big club, and we don't crumble. The influence Ruben Amorim's had, because our away record versus the big 6 was shocking under Ten Hag. Ruben Amorim's got a win at the Etihad, a draw at Anfield, and a win at the Emirates. A win at the Emirates with 10 men. When our record with 10 men and our record away from home against the big 6 is shocking. And it was a 12v10, as Ray's put in the chat there, because the ref was a joke. The ref was horrific. And the only player that let us down yesterday was Dalot. Everybody stepped up. Yoro stepped up, put in a really good performance. De Ligt and Maguire, monumental. Whole team put their body on the line. You know, everyone was fantastic. Everyone was fantastic. Even Garnacho got his head up and played that pass to Bruno instead of being selfish and shooting. There was a difference there. You know, Højlund probably didn't have his best game. He was living off scraps. Dalot had a poor game, but I think everybody else did not put an absolute foot wrong. We need goals and confidence in the squad, 100%. Hopefully Southampton gives us those goals and confidence, because that's what we need. Guys, we've got over 1,000 people watching right now, so big up everybody that's tuning in. I'm also on 104,000 subscribers, 199. So I'm only one subscriber away from 104.2k subs. So big up everybody watching. If you have enjoyed today's live show, please do go ahead and hit the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new, because I will be back tonight with some more news and some more updates. There is talk about Garnacho and Napoli, him being a top target. United want about £60 million, and apparently Napoli have made contact for Garnacho, but United are asking for about £60 million. We'll have to wait and see what goes on with Garnacho and Napoli. We're going to talk about that in more detail on my show tonight. We've also got news that Malacia could leave Manchester United, coming in from Fabrizio Romano as well. And then there's updates, obviously, that Diego Leon is here. He's going to undergo his medical today at Carrington, probably be announced in the next day or two as well. Some questions about Xerxes, but his close control and link up was good. The nutmeg on Saliba, the score in the penalty. Had a very, very good game, Xerxes, yesterday. Very, very good game. But listen, people, we're at the half an hour mark. I want to make the show short and sweet. I'm going to be back later tonight, and I will talk more about Diego Leon. I will talk more about Malacia exit. I will talk more about Garnacho and more transfer news in tonight's show. But I just wanted to sort of get into the chat, get your thoughts on the game, talk about the game, all of that as well. Rashford, Casemiro, Eriksen, and more. Big up everyone for tuning in. I'll be back tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye.